Welcome everyone to Hot Topic Tuesday. I'm Zach Sooty. We have Al Fragnoli and Brandon Gunn, the three amigos together again. Gentlemen, good to see you.
Good to see you, Zach.
Good to have you back.
All right, so gentlemen, we have some topics we want to discuss tonight, and we're gonna start off with the Olympics. Simone Biles pulled out of the Olympic competition due to mental health issues. It does sound like she is going to participate in her final event, but she did pull out. What are your thoughts on Simone and pulling out of the Olympics? Al, starting with you.
Yeah, Zach, this is a good topic, I think, to discuss, a serious topic, right? So I think when it first came out, I was a little, kind of torn, split both ways. But as I've read more information and looked into stuff, I mean, I see no shame in what she did. And actually, I think it's absolutely fantastic that she, sensed that her body and her mind were not in the right place to compete at a high level. When it comes to gymnastics, I don't watch the sport a ton unless it is the Olympics. But one thing I do know is that if you're mentally and physically not in the right place, gymnastics is probably not a sport that you want to take a chance on, right? I mean, if you land the wrong way, you can get seriously injured. And I think that she was fine for doing what she did. No shame at all there. It's a shame to see some of the criticism that she's been getting, truthfully, which is a shame. But yeah, I think she did what was best for her, and you got to admire that. Brandon?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you've seen her videos and highlights and things that she does, when she's on that mat, it's insane. She flips, runs, flips again, and then somehow gets 12 feet in the air. If her mind's not in the right spot and she's landing, even just a half a second away from where she wanted to be or wanted to end up, like if she just times that wrong, we're talking about a catastrophic injury. So I think that for her, and not to mention it was a team sport that she pulled out of. So you don't want to let your team down because you're not there. And it kind of feeds into, so she got a ton of criticism, which I think is curious because, you've got a lot of people that if somebody's not feeling right or just not feeling the game, let's say basketball or, another sport, then you have fans, going at them saying, well, if you weren't feeling it that night, or if you just weren't feeling like you could get in the right spot to compete, then why did you go? But then here she is pulling out because she's not in that right frame of mind, not in the right state to compete. And she gets a ton of criticism, people going as far as saying that she quit on her country and stuff like that. And I just think it's unfair. I think that you've got to trust the athlete. I mean, these people prepare for many years to get to the stage that they're getting to. You've got to trust them if they're just not ready to go after all that preparation. So I think she did the right thing. I think the criticism is unfair. And I think the athletes are really in a tough spot when it comes to making decisions like this based on mental health, because it's not understood. And then you've got people that are on the outside looking in that are just going to make their own opinions. And it's a no win for the athletes. What are your thoughts, Zach?
Brandon, I agree with you. I think, in others, I think mental health is such a big topic right now. And I just go back to, do you think Simone wanted to pull out? Do you think that was just, I'm going to pull out today because I'm not feeling it? That was something that she probably struggled with, to be in that moment, to make that decision. It doesn't come lightly. And I think you said it. People don't understand it. People don't understand mental health issues. Therefore, it's hard for them to understand being put in that position. They've never been to the Olympics. They were never an athlete in the Olympics. You can't pretend to put yourself in those shoes. I think, it's great that she was vocal about it. She could have easily said, I tweaked an ankle, and skirted the whole mental health issue and took a different route to sit out. But I think it was important for her and for everyone to know that, a mental health issue can affect how you perform, and one misstep could have ended her career. And she knew that, and she made that decision. So, I think mental health is important. I think it's important to be in the limelight right now, and I give her kudos for the courage to do that. And I'm excited to see her compete on the beam. Hopefully she's able to compete, and I hope she wins a medal. So I'm still rooting for her. All right, gentlemen, moving into Major League Baseball. A lot of action right up until the trade deadline, some moves being made. What are your thoughts on some of these moves, and were you surprised by any, Al?
Yeah, Zach, last week, Brandon and I touched on the Chicago Cubs. I think that was a team that I thought would make some moves. And while I did think that they would make some moves and be sellers at the trade deadline, which they were, I didn't think they would get rid of their entire team. So really shocked by that. And to me, I would say the Chicago Cubs were my biggest surprise. They are clearly 100% in rebuild mode right now, which I'm very surprised to see. Brandon?
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, the Cubs, here they were, a young up and coming team and a, potentially sustained dynasty for, some time based on the pieces that they had. So I thought that was really crazy the way that they tore everything down. But my big takeaway from this trade deadline was the value that is put on these prospects that have never played in a game in the major leagues. I mean, it's incredible to me that you've got, Max Scherzer, Trey Turner moved for, a couple of guys that, yeah, they're in the baseball top 50, right? But these guys have never played a game. And it really brings me back to when the Tigers acquired Miguel Cabrera way back in the day. And here we traded them, or we acquired Miguel Cabrera for Andrew Miller and Cameron Maybin, which, yeah, they were great minor league prospects, but at the end of the day, what'd you have? You had a closer and, a guy who's been a journeyman outfielder. So the value put on these prospects blows my mind every trade deadline. And then, Al, to your point, to see a team that looked like they were stacked and ready to compete for years to come, just tear down and throw it, all throughout the league, or throw their value all throughout the league, was really surprising to me. So it was a surprising deadline. A lot of big names moved, and a lot of guys that I don't know that we necessarily knew were going to move. So it was an interesting deadline. What about you, Zach? What did you think?
Yeah, I think I was surprised by the same kind of moves. The Cubs being sellers, you would think they were on the brink of a dynasty just a couple of years ago. So I thought that was very surprising. The Dodgers picking up some big names and spending even more money. They were already the MLB's highest payroll, I believe, and they just added on to it. The Padres making some moves to try and stay competitive with the moves the Dodgers made. And then, off topic of the trade deadline, also surprised that Kumar Rocker did not sign with the Mets by the deadline there. So just some surprising things in Major League Baseball, and we'll see what happens. Let's see if you can buy a World Series. All right, gentlemen, sticking with baseball, and you mentioned Brendan Miguel Cabrera. He's inching closer to 500 homers, 3,000 hits. Does it happen this year? And how special would it be to happen in the same year? Al?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a very special feat, obviously, for somebody to get both of these accomplishments, right? Obviously, it means something here in Detroit and in Michigan. We love Miguel Cabrera. Fantastic. He's been a part of some great teams here in Detroit. I do believe that both are going to happen this year. I think with the way he's performed lately, he's definitely seen the ball a lot better. He's having fun out there. He's getting some hits. He's gotten a few home runs in the last few weeks here. So he's, I believe, 3 home runs away from 500. I think that happens probably during August at some point. The hits, I want to say he's, 50 some hits away. So that one will be, probably in September at some point, right? But I do think that he accomplishes both this year, and I think it's going to be certainly very special to watch. And part of me definitely hopes that it happens. Both of them happen at home, Comerica Park. At least one of them for sure would be fantastic to witness and see, because I know that as he gets closer and he gets one home run away, I'm getting tickets. And if I have to go to 8 straight home games, I might just have to go to 8 straight home games. So I'm looking forward to it. Brandon?
Yeah, I think the home runs happen for sure. He's 3 away, and I think that, he's starting to show a little bit of power again. I guess I start to doubt a little bit where the hits come in, and the only reason why he has caught fire as of late, but if it depends on how they use him towards the end of the season, once they're out of contention, or they throw Miguel in the lineup just to try to get his accolades, then I could see it happening. But if they're going to continue to use him and rest him how they have been all season, I could see where he falls a little bit short on the hits record, and then goes into next season, early next season, getting his 3,000th hit. But it's been great to see Miguel Cabrera do what he's done throughout his career. Triple crown to his credit, and just all of the other moments that he has given us throughout his tenure here. So I really do hope that he gets both of those milestones. I think he falls a little bit short on the hits. What about you, Zach? What do you think?
Brandon, nobody asked for your opinion, all right? They're both happening this year.
So I agree with you that the 3 home runs should happen this year. He is showing some power of as of late. I'm skeptical about the 58 hits in the next 2 months. It's going to be tough. It depends on how much playing time he gets. It depends how hot he can stay. I think he's batting 250 right now. If he can get that average up, he might be able to squeeze in some hits. I would love for him to do both this year and maybe get that 3,000th hit on the last home game of the season. I think that would be remarkable. I'm just a little bit skeptical for that to happen, and realistically believe it's going to happen at the beginning of next year. But Miguel Cabrera is one of those guys that is fun to watch. He has fun playing the game. The little pranks he does, and just the smiles he brings to not only the fans but even other players. I mean, he gets them going. He's fun to watch. Can't wait to see him get both 500 homers and 3,000 hits. Hope it's this season, but I'm thinking 3,000th hit comes next year. I'm sorry, Al.
Hey,
and
it happens.
Moving on to the NHL. Evander Kane has been accused by his wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, of throwing NHL games. There seems to be some things going on in his personal life that are now affecting his career. Al, do you believe these rumors? And what are your thoughts on players potentially gambling on games?
So since we're going to talk about betting, I just want to let you guys know that I would bet on Miguel Cabrera to accomplish both those feats this year. But with Evander Kane, we talk about the NHL here and gambling. I certainly think that there's players out there that are gambling. If they're gambling on their team and throwing games, that I don't know. And specifically with Evander Kane, I mean, it's coming from his wife who, they're in the middle of a messy divorce right now. So who knows what you can believe, right? It'll be interesting to see what they're able to find out. But I don't know if we'll stick with the theme. If I had to bet on it, I would say he probably didn't throw any games. So is he gambling on hockey itself? Maybe. I know that's not a definitive answer, but again, there's so much information that still needs to come out. I just think it's really hard to know one way or another. If I had to put money on it, I would say no. But I do think that there's, as betting becomes more and more prevalent, and we're seeing it everywhere we look, we are going to start finding out that players in all of sports are gambling. And it's going to be an interesting situation to see what happens. Brandon, I'm curious to hear your thoughts here. I know you're a big hockey guy, so what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that players across all sports are gambling on their sport and other sports. I just think that, they're competitive by nature. You heard about Michael Jordan gambling, throughout his career on different things, and maybe not on the NBA per se, but I think there's a competitive drive that brings you to gambling, and a little bit of a rush, almost as if you're competing. So I'd be more shocked if I heard that 0 players gambled than to know that players did. That being said, you nailed it, Al. I mean, Evander Kane's going through a messy divorce right now, and a lot of things are going to be said throughout that process. I look at it through the lens of just how can you throw an NHL game and be so bad without being benched that you influence the outcome. I think that you can you give the puck away a couple of times and you're on the bench, you're glued to the bench, and unless the other team scored a couple of goals, then you didn't impact the outcome. You just found yourself sitting on the bench. So I, for him to throw, quote unquote, throw games, I think it would have to be an absolute obvious measure that he took on the ice to do so. And I just don't believe that that's the case. He's a physical player. The coach would notice if he was not playing his brand of game where he's going hard into the corners, making hard hits, dropping the gloves with Ryan Reeves and some of these other guys that he fights. And, he's a goal scorer. So he's continuously leading the league in goals in the power forward area. So no, I don't believe he's throwing games, but whatever the case is, I hate to hear when all of the athletes' personal lives get thrown into the media. And I'd much rather just, take a step back and wish that, we didn't know what was going on behind their closed doors. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, I think statistically we can all say that there are going to be professional players gambling on professional sports. I would hope there's enough education and understanding and just awareness of consequences of betting on your own sport, your own team, maybe your own, over unders or whatnot. That there's and I've mentioned it many times before, in our shows, is the integrity of the game. Let's not hurt the integrity of the game. So I would hope that there's going to be awareness and education around gambling on your sport and specifically your team. If not, there needs to be. As for everything that is going on in Evander Kane's personal life and how this all came out is very unfortunate. It happens. We've seen it before in your personal life affecting your workplace, if you will. And unfortunately, in today's era of social media, many individuals are guilty before any facts come out. And people on Twitter, on Facebook, on social media are going to attack Evander Kane and say, you did this, you did that, I bet on this game and you probably threw this game, and he's going to be grilled by the public because of an accusation. So it's unfortunate that that's going to hurt his personal brand, whether it's true or not. I hope it's not true, but again, I'm with you, Al. There needs to be a lot more information to come out of this. We need to learn more before we can say whether or not any of it is true, and hopefully we'll know relatively soon. So that's my thoughts on it.
Awesome.
All right, gentlemen. Anything you'd like to add before we send her off?
No, I think that's it. I think you nailed it. And, just that Miguel Cabrera is definitely going to get both those accomplishments done this year. That's
so this week marks the week that we have football all the way through 1 week before the Super Bowl. So we have survived the summer of, marginal sports, and we're going to trudge ahead with football starting this week.
That is right. Definitely looking forward to that. There's not going to be another Sunday without football for months. Perfect time of the year. We're getting into fall. Let's go. All right. Thanks, everybody. That wraps up our Hot Topic Tuesday this week. We are glad that you joined us, and we hope you continue to follow us here on Hot Topic Tuesday. And we hope you continue to tune in on Sundays for our weekly guests that we bring in to talk sports and sports leadership. Thanks, everybody.